So the WBA have rejected Eddie Hearns' appeal for Dimitri Bivol to be allowed to delay his mandatory defense against Gilberto Ramirez so that he can fight Joshua Buatsi in a voluntary defense first. And the reason the WBA have given for this is that apparently there hasn't been a defense of their 175-pound title since 2018. So it's long overdue. Therefore, if this is the case, I can't blame the WBA for rejecting Eddie Hearns' request. It seems perfectly reasonable under the circumstances. And so Joshua Buatsi potentially is going to have to find a different route to the title, because if Dimitri Bivol gets past Gilberto Ramirez, and that's no guarantee, Ramirez might be a dark horse in the division, but if he gets past him, Bivol may choose to pursue the rematch with Canelo, or even an undisputed unification with Artur Beterbiev. There's no guarantee that he would want a voluntary defense against Joshua Buatsi next after Ramirez. So the only other route which is open for Buatsi right now, which gets him a title shot sooner rather than later, would be to take the invitation extended to him by the IBF and enter the final elimination bout against Jean Pascal. And I've long said that I think that is a good learning fight for Joshua Buatsi. Pascal is a wily vet, been around a very long time, fought loads of different people from Chad Dawson to Bernard Hopkins and even Carl Froch, among others. Lucian Bute, of course. He's got an absolute wealth of experience. He's a box of tricks at this stage. I think he learned a lot from the two fights against Hopkins in terms of how to old man your way through a fight. And recently he had a win over the Chinese fighter Meng, although some people say it was a questionable decision. In any event, he's still in the mix. And I think that for Buatsi to get in there with someone that tough and experienced and crafty would do him the world of good in preparation for the next level. Now, I understand why Eddie Hearn would want to go the Dimitri Bivol route, because Bivol, of course, is a DAZN fighter, just like Buatsi. And perhaps Eddie Hearn thinks that Buatsi, it's a risk either way, right? Whether you fight Dimitri Bivol or Beterbiev. But I'm going to assume that Eddie Hearn thinks that losing to Bivol would probably be a points loss, whereas losing to Beterbiev could potentially be a devastating knockout defeat. And if he's looking at the longevity of Joshua Buatsi, maybe he thinks it's better to lose on points than lose by knockout. Maybe that's how Eddie Hearn's thinking. Whatever the case may be, this appears at the moment to be the only path open for Joshua Buatsi to get a title shot anytime soon. You look at the other sanctioning bodies, and of course, the other sanctioning bodies, they have Beterbiev as their champion, and Bivol was the champion with the WBA. So let's have a look here. WBO rankings, again, their champions Beterbiev. Yard is apparently up next for the WBO. Behind Yard is Ramirez and Buatsi, so Buatsi would have to wait for Yard to have his crack first. Then you've got the IBF, which I've already talked about. Buatsi is in line for a elimination bout against Pascal. And for those of you who are unaware, the reason that Buatsi isn't being matched with Yard or Ramirez in this IBF final eliminator is because Yard and Ramirez have already got guaranteed shots as mandatories for other sanctioned bodies. I guess you could have deduced that from what I've said already. So yeah, Buatsi's got the opportunity there. Now with the WBC, they ordered Callum Smith versus the number 2 ranked light heavyweight. I'm really going to struggle with this name. Is it Bauda Like? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. He's from France. So that right there is an eliminator that was ordered, I think, a month or 2 ago. I'm not sure what's going on with that. If this individual doesn't go ahead with the Callum Smith fight for whatever reason, then potentially you could have Smith versus Buatsi in a final eliminator. And I have to imagine Eddie Hearn would prefer that. Rather than putting Buatsi in there against Pascal, I'm sure he would prefer to put Buatsi in there against Callum Smith, because that's an all matchroom, in-house DAZN fight. Would Eddie Hearn dare to put that on pay-per-view? I seriously hope not. But he's under all sorts of pressure from the bosses at DAZN at this stage, so you never know. Let me know what you guys think about the situation with Joshua Buatsi right now, with him seemingly not fighting Dimitri Bivol next because Eddie Hearns' request was rejected. And some people are going to look at this as more bad luck, more bad news for Eddie Hearn in what seems to be a downturn for his company at the moment. Again, let me know how you feel about that in the comments below. Let me know how you feel about Joshua Buatsi versus Jean Pascal. Do you think it would do him the world of good? Also, Joshua Buatsi versus Callum Smith. How do you think that fight would go? Do you think Buatsi has got the beating of Smith? Do you think Smith might be able to turn up and take Buatsi out, beat him on points, or stop him? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And perhaps you think Buatsi might learn more from the Smith fight than he would from the Pascal fight. Maybe you think it's more competitive for Buatsi to be fighting the likes of Smith. Whatever the case may be, let me know how you feel. If you're tired of the biased narratives and mass censorship on mainstream platforms, and you want to be part of a community of critical thinkers who love free speech just as much as you do, then come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide variety of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&As, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalog of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high-quality MP3. We've also got an Element group where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. Unlike Discord, it has full end-to-end encryption, is decentralized, and it's 100% censorship-free. You can also send voice notes as well as much larger audio and video files than you can on Discord. So come and sign up on Patreon. There's no contract, there's no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. So I'll see you over there. I'm out.